The sharp crack of my laptop hitting the marble made my heart skip. It wasn't just a device, it was my work, my effort, my independence. You should be cleaning, cooking, taking care of your husband and son instead of wasting your time on games, my mother-in-law shrieked, yanking the charger out of the wall like she could pull my future apart with it. She had no idea what I was building. She thought I was lazy. She thought I depended entirely on her son. She was wrong. My name is Mira Callan. I'm 27, married to Ethan, her only son. For 3 long years, I endured her constant critiques, the way she inspected my cupboards, mocked my clothes, and reminded me that a real wife didn't sit in front of a screen. That laptop paid for this house. Every penny, every contract, every investor call went through it. And now, shattered on the floor, it felt like my entire world had been thrown down the drain. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed her by the wrist, careful but firm, and pulled her back from the device. Her gasp was loud, sharp, disbelief written across her face. I dragged her to the front door as she screamed Ethan's name, treating me like a criminal. But I didn't hesitate. Out she went, stumbling onto the porch. Ethan stood there, frozen. His eyes darted between us, caught somewhere between shock and indecision. I took a deep breath. Don't cry. Don't falter. Stay calm. Lenora, her pearls clutched tightly, hissed at him. This is what happens when a woman forgets her place. For 3 years, she had reminded me of my place. Temporary housing with her turned permanent. She monitored my every move, how I folded towels, how I seasoned meals, even how often Ethan smiled at me. And there he was, Ethan, squeezing my hand under the table, whispering, ignore her. Ignore the woman who barges into your office without knocking. Ignore the comments. Just keep going. What they didn't know was that my hobby, what they called a silly online game, had quietly become a tech startup. Investors, contracts, 6-figure revenue streams. Today's pitch could have expanded my business worldwide. Instead, it ended with broken glass, a screaming mother-in-law, and Ethan silent, unsure what to do. I looked at them both. Calm, collected, unshaken. This wasn't over. Lenora was still on the porch, clutching her pearls as if I had physically harmed her. You assaulted me, she screeched, her voice dripping with outrage. I didn't flinch. Your house. I asked softly, almost amused. No, my house, I said, letting the words sink. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, the hesitation clear on his face. That hesitation spoke volumes. Lenora smirked, sensing victory. See, she doesn't even have a real job, she whispered, as if that made her right. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I walked back inside, picking up the shattered remains of my laptop. The screen was cracked, but the investor dashboard was still open. Numbers, contracts, confirmations, 6-figure deals all laid out. Lenora's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of disbelief. Ethan's face drained of color when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and froze. It's my boss, he muttered. I raised an eyebrow. Then show me. Without waiting, he turned the phone toward me, revealing the live stream of everything that had just happened. 40,000 viewers. Clips of Lenora screaming, me dragging her out, and Ethan standing frozen. The video had gone viral. My stomach dropped, not from embarrassment, but realization. The world was watching, and they weren't laughing at me. They were cheering. Comments flooded in. Free her. Why is he letting his mother control her? Support her business. I could feel a shift in the air. For years, I had been quiet, letting her dictate, letting Ethan remain passive. But this moment, everything had changed. I turned my gaze to Ethan. Tell her what I do, I said softly. Silence. He hesitated. That hesitation confirmed it. He had always known, but never spoken up. Lenora, smug, sensing control, whispered, see? Nothing to hide, nothing to prove. I took a deep breath, letting the calm wash over me. The work I had done, years of coding, meetings, calls, and pitches, was more than just typing on a laptop. It was proof of my independence. And today, that proof was live for everyone to see. I straightened, letting my confidence show. Lenora could cling to her outdated ideas of what a wife should be, but I wasn't that person anymore. Not today, not ever. Today, the world knew I had power. And not the kind that comes from a husband or a mother-in-law, but the kind that comes from one's own hard work and vision. I didn't wait for Lenora's reaction. I opened my tablet, logged into the founder's dashboard, and felt the surge of control. Majority shareholder. Executive authority. Ethan owned 15% of my company, and for 3 years, he had believed that made him powerful. But attached to that stake were ethical clauses, confidentiality rules, and strict conduct standards, standards he had just shattered in front of thousands. I drafted an email to the board in minutes. Subject line: immediate review of conduct, partner involvement. Attached: the viral clip. By the time I returned to the living room, Lenora was lecturing Ethan about discipline, still trying to claim control. I looked at him calm, almost serene. "You want to control," I said softly. "Now it's my turn." The board meeting happened that very night. I joined from the dining table, Lenora sitting stiffly on the couch like she was watching a courtroom drama. Ethan stood behind her, silent, tense. The clip played first, her voice sharp, his silence awkward, my humiliation undeniable. Then came the numbers, growth projections, expansion plans, and the deal negotiations Ethan's firm was pursuing through my company. One investor leaned forward, voice even but sharp. "Mr. Callan, are we aware that your domestic situation could impact company reputation?" Ethan cleared his throat, fumbling. "It was a misunderstanding." Another investor raised an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding? This clip is trending globally." I didn't smirk. I shared one document, the ethics clause, the morality clause tied to public conduct, and the section stating that any action damaging brand integrity constitutes grounds for immediate divestment. Silence felt like a heavy curtain. The vote was unanimous. Ethan's shares were frozen pending review. Partnership negotiations were suspended. Lenora's face went pale. Ethan looked at me as though I had just erased his world. I closed the laptop gently. "You wanted me in the kitchen?" I said quietly. "I just cooked." For the first time, Ethan's composure cracked. "You humiliated me," he whispered. I almost smiled. "Me?" Lenora stood, trembling with outrage. "You ruined his career over a family argument." I shook my head. "No," I said calmly. "He gambled his career trying to control me." The viral clip had crossed 1 million views by now. Sponsors were reaching out. Investors were circling. My company's valuation soared overnight. And for the first time, Ethan had nothing to say. Lenora had no words left. The silence belonged to me, and it was mine entirely. The house felt different the next morning, lighter, quieter, almost peaceful. Lenora had packed and left overnight. Not because I forced her, but because Ethan finally set boundaries. This house wasn't hers. It wasn't Ethan's. It was mine, purchased with the early profits from my company. Not his salary, not her savings. Mine. Ethan stayed behind, sitting at the kitchen table in silence, processing everything. Hours passed before he finally spoke. "I didn't think you'd choose your company over me," he admitted quietly. I met his eyes steadily. "I didn't think you'd choose control over respect," I replied. And in that moment, clarity washed over both of us. My revenge wasn't in freezing his shares or going viral. It was in reclaiming my power. He had married someone he thought he could manage. I had stopped trying to be manageable. The week after, the final paperwork was signed, not for divorce, but for a buyout. Ethan sold me his shares at a loss voluntarily. Staying tied to me meant accountability, and that was more than he could handle. I watched him carry the last suitcase out of the house. No rage, no bitterness, only peace. She wanted me in the kitchen. Now, I ran the company, the house, and my life on my terms. I realized something even bigger. Independence isn't just about money, contracts, or viral moments. It's about owning your space, your work, and yourself. And that clarity is priceless. To anyone watching this story, remember, no one has the right to dictate your worth. Your work matters. Your space matters. Your voice matters. Stand firm, protect your boundaries, and never let anyone define what you can achieve.